اللي جبتك فيه وانا اللي همشيك.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, and still with you and continuing our coverage here on LTV International. And we're now delighted to be joined over the telephone by Dr. Yomn Hamaki, the Professor of Economics at Shams University. Dr. Yomn, a very good afternoon to you, ma'am.
Yeah, good afternoon.
Thank you very much for joining us, Doctor. Today we watched and saw the President inaugurating a number of new housing units for people of unsafe areas for their relocation. And of course, a very important project which has been given a lot of attention by the Egyptian leadership and the Egyptian government. And lots of progress has been seen, as this is a part of a string of development of housing units all around the country. How do you see the importance of this project and the pace of its progression, Doctor?
Actually, quite important. Nowadays, we are addressing seriously the slums and the quality of life for a segment of the society that have been actually in a terrible situation. Nowadays, we have new areas in which all the services are provided, new housing that can guarantee the minimum of the quality of life. When you heard the people living there, to how extent they are changing their situation, the quality of life they are living in, instead of just living in a cottages without any, prerequisite for a decent life. Nowadays, they are moving into new areas in which they can feel secure, the security, they can have, according to their, remarks, that they are now living in safe areas, and they can have a door for their apartments. These are actually a new era of improving the quality of life for this segment of the society. What actually attracted me seriously during this ceremony was, the speech of the Minister of Social Solidarity regarding, the quality of life and the type of human resources.
Yes.
When they have they are trying to find a database in order to attract human resources properly, and they found, severe results regarding number one, about the rate of illiteracy. They found that the rate of illiteracy was very, very high. The rate of girls that have been married in a very early ages, this is a phenomenon that's affecting seriously, the economic situation in Egypt, and even the social and political situation. Why? Because when you have this very high rate of illiteracy, of unemployment, of drop up from schools, when they studied the reasons behind this illiteracy rate, very high illiteracy rate, which arrived to double the rate pronounced by the government, the result actually were that the main reasons behind that, the dropout from school, which proved seriously that the services provided in such school are not, adequate enough to sustain students and to guarantee for them a good quality of education services. And this is a core problem regarding building human resources in Egypt. And nowadays, when we address such challenges, this is a very turning point regarding building human capital in Egypt.
Absolutely. And Doctor, as you said, there has, there is now awareness of these major challenges, and many steps are being taken to address them.
Yes, of course, and this is, this is quite important, because we used just in several projects before, we used just to change the the positions, places the people are living in, without addressing them properly. And if you just change places without changing the quality of life, without changing the capabilities of those people, I believe you are not doing, the process properly enough. But nowadays, we are addressing human capital, we are trying to change, and imagine that you can find severe social problems in these slums, as we have heard, and our researchers, applied researchers, proved that several times. So I believe that another phenomenon which is regarding the labor situation in these areas, 70% were found to be irregular workers, which means that they don't have sustainable income to support their families. And here it comes that it means from the people living in cooperation and the decision makers, like the Minister of Social Solidarity, in cooperation with NGOs, to find out opportunities of job and to build their capabilities so that to be able to cope with the requirements in the labor market.
Absolutely right. Doctor, another very important issue that the President raised in his address, he spoke about the need to cooperate in order to protect agricultural land in Egypt and stop violations, specifically with regards to the issue of unplanned buildings on agricultural land. How important is this issue? Saying, of course, the President said, Egypt is losing useful agricultural land because of these violations, and he called for the capitalization, for example, on desert lands, which are abundant in Egypt.
This is quite important. Why? Because it has actually two dimensions. The first dimension is how to use our resources efficiently, because when you have the fertile land, used in housing, this means that you are losing, you are losing your capabilities, you are losing your resources. Instead, you are reclaiming other lands with very high cost. So this is from one perspective. From another, which is more important from my point of view, is the superiority of law, which this is, you cannot find any society that can achieve economic growth or development without the superiority of law. So when people know that, this land is dedicated for agriculture reasons, and it is outlawed to do anything, and you have to take permission in order to use it as agriculture land. This is a wealth for the nation that you have to protect. So these are very important messages that we have all as Egyptians to respect.
Absolutely, Doctor. Now, let's talk a bit about another very important issue, the multifaceted face of the development. As we saw, for example, today with the new housing units that the President inaugurated, he also spoke about the need to create job and employment opportunities for the residents of these areas in order to have a more round, approach to development of the lives of the citizens, providing job opportunities and creating more jobs and employment opportunities for the residents. How important is this aspect of their development?
From my point of view, it should come first, which means that, from my point of view, starting by spending on creating opportunities of job for the majority of poor people in slums areas as well as rural areas, I believe it should come first. Why? Because when you spend on building capabilities of people and allowing them to have economic activities and having opportunity of job, you are going to have those people turning from poverty into having income to sustain the economy and to participate in the creation of GDP growth. So by that you can add other services for them. So from my point of view, actually, this should take the priority regarding public spending, how to create opportunities of jobs. So I believe that it should go with building, infrastructure and allowing good services for those people and changing the quality of life for them. So we have to concentrate on finding opportunities. So why? Because this is the guarantee to sustain that those people can spend and keep their houses in a proper way.
Absolutely. And Doctor, another very important issue that you mentioned earlier on, the issue of education, the provision of education for the residents of these areas. I mean, as you can see, the new housing units are surrounded by green areas, and there is a move to have new schools, new hospitals, and all the needed services for the new residents and citizens of these housing units. How important is that as a major driving force in the building of human capability?
From our previous experience,
yes.
It's not a matter of just building schools. It's a matter of how these schools are going to provide good services of education. Because you can have a building which is quite good, but you don't have enough, professors, and you don't have enough teachers there to teach the students, or you don't have a good management, system in order to teach the students. So without having a holistic approach to have a results, good results regarding the efficiency of the services provided for the student, you cannot reach the results. Why? Because, and this is actually has been quite clarified by having this very high rate of dropout from schools. As I have just mentioned, the dropout from schools reflecting to large extent that there is no adequate services provided by these government schools, which means that it's not a matter of a building, it's a matter of the efficiency of educational services provided for students.
Dr. Yomn Hamaki, Professor of Economics in Shams University, I'd like to thank you very much, ma'am, for your time and your insight, and another short break, and we'll be right back to continue. Do stay tuned.
في السباق للعالمية الكل بيجري عشان يوصل للهدف، للمستقبل، وعشان توصل وتنجح ويسمع العالم صوتك ويشاور عليك ويبقى اسمك رقم واحد وسط أكبر الأسماء في العالم، كان لازم نجري، نشتغل، نفكر ازاي نبدع، ازاي نتميز، وهدفنا واضح قدام عينينا، إننا في السباق مش بس نوصل لكن نسبق بخطوة.